Hey guys, welcome to a special edition of Wicked Crazy Pinfalls. Not the good kind, not not something we were exactly planning on doing, but in case you for some reason haven't heard, which maybe you're just waking up. Um, about 9:20 last night, 9:21 actually. Sean Ross Sapp, friend of the show, Sean Ross Sapp of Fightful, um, tweeted out that WWE had released 8 more people. This is a couple of weeks after they had released, I think somewhere around 10 or maybe 12 people, which included names like Frankie Monet, Ty Valkyrie, um, Mia Yim, Keith Lee, um, B-Fab of Hit Row, Nia Jax, and I think we all thought, okay, well, that's got to be it for the end of the year for cuts. And we got 8 more cuts last night. John Morrison, actually, I'll read you the tweet directly from Sean. Fightful has learned that WWE have released John Morrison, Top Dollar, Ashante Adonis, Isaiah Swerve Scott, Tegan Knox, Drake Maverick, Shane Thorne, and Jackson Riker. This is coming a couple of days before ostensibly one of WWE's big 4 pay-per-views. I think the build would call to question just how important WWE views it, but ostensibly one of their biggest pay-per-views of the year, and they cut 8 people. And once again, the reason given, according to an email from John Laurinaitis, budget cuts. Sean did do a stream on Fightful's YouTube last night, which was a little bit more informative, where he kind of talked about what each person's career had been in WWE, and giving what information he had. So it was a very good listen. He went about 50 minutes, so definitely recommend checking that out if you haven't. But just felt the need to kind of talk about it and go over it and just kind of lament yet more people. So John Morrison, a veteran, one of the, he was somebody who had originally been in the company for a long time. He was in Tough Enough, came back fall of 2019 as, and reformed his tag team with The Miz, which had been very successful around like the 2006, 2007, 8 era of WWE, and an incredible talent. I mean, this is a guy who was in Lucha Underground. He was in Impact. He did various indies, and never really in this run, never really had a chance to really show how good he could be as a singles, because he was immediately put, as I said, right back into a tag team with The Miz. And then The Miz went away to do Dancing with the Stars and was used here or there, but never used to his full potential. And he never got to that point in WWE. And his wife, as I mentioned, was one of the people that got released just a couple of weeks ago, that being Ty Valkyrie. So then a couple of weeks, both of these people, this couple, lost both of their incomes due to budget cuts. And let's remember, WWE, hours before the last round of cuts, recorded record profits for the quarter and for the year. But we got to cut people due to budget cuts. Top Dollar, Ashante Adonis, and Isaiah Swerve Scott, aka the rest of Hit Row. they lost B-Fab to the Cuts a couple of weeks ago, and they never got a chance on the main roster in WWE. This is somebody. Actually, this is a group of people that had been one of the few highlights of NXT during the last bit of the Triple H era of NXT, and then again in NXT 2.0 before getting called up. Like, pretty much unanimously was considered one of the few bright spots of NXT 2.0 before they're called up. And Top Dollar, he's not exactly popular with with fans for sure. He's said some pretty kind of controversial stuff, to say the least. He had tweets about the Young Bucks and and shoes and stuff, and apparently this past weekend even was saying some not exactly racially sensitive stuff concerning Indians and their culture and their language. Definitely a guy who I think ran his mouth a little bit too much online. But he was the host of that A&E show about searching for old relics of WWE. And now, I never watched it, but from what I heard, he was really good in that role as a host, and was really somebody who actually could have been great as a host role. I don't know much about Ashante Adonis, so I can't really comment on him. But Isaiah Swerve Scott, I mean, this is a guy who has the potential to be a top guy in any promotion. And the sad thing is they never got a chance on the main roster, because they get drafted in October, and then almost immediately, maybe like a week or two after they get drafted and the draft officially takes effect, B-Fab gets cut. And they afterwards, then they showed up, cut a promo, did a squash match, and now they're gone. And something that Alex Pulowski of Fightful, because after these cuts, he and Kate Hensler, who normally do the NXT post show on Fightful, they went on Fightful Select and did an episode, a special episode of Sour Grapes talking about this. And he put it a really interesting way that I liked, which was, there's always that thing of, okay, well, let's put somebody out there and let's see if they can sink or swim. See if they're able to rise to the occasion and deliver and perform, or if they just end up totally whiffing it and being like, okay, well, you're done here. They never even got thrown in the water. They never had a chance to actually show what they could do, and at a time where WWE has relied so much on going to the past and looking to the past, Goldberg, talk of, of Rock possibly doing a match at WrestleMania, John Cena and all these things. And you get a group like Hit Row that was well liked and popular, and people had high hopes for, and you don't even give them a chance to really let people who haven't been watching them in NXT kind of learn who they are, and you go ahead and you decide to just release them. I don't get that. I don't understand that. And Isaiah Swerve Scott in particular, he really didn't get a chance to do much. He signed 2019, I think in April, debuted on NXT a few months later, had some matches, challenged for the North American title a couple of times, then joined Hit Row in, I think, July of this year, and got called up in October and released a month later, which he's going to be fine. Isaiah Swerve Scott in particular, he's going to be fine. And honestly, and I'm not going to say this for everybody, but this is a guy AEW should be banging on his door the second his no compete is up. I don't know, because he was in NXT, he would have been on a 30-day contract. I don't know if at this time we don't know if when they got called up if Hit Row signed new contracts for the main roster, which then would have made him be a 90-day no compete. I'm trusting all the different wrestling media people are trying to find that out. But whenever that no compete is up, Isaiah Swerve Scott should be somebody that that AEW is like, what do you want to come over? Hi, I'm Maggie. Yeah, I've seen a lot of people over in Europe start to wake up and see the news and react. It was, it was getting late here in the U.S. Like I said, it was about 9:20 Eastern time. So as you move farther west in the U.S., it was earlier, but all of Europe was asleep. So now they're kind of like, it's like a whiplash effect. Speaking of Europe, great European, great Welsh girl, Tegan Knox. Man, I mean, out of all of the names on here, this is the one that hurts me personally the most. Tegan, she's somebody who, she suffered, she unfortunately she suffered from just a string of bad luck. She's had surgery on both of her knees. I'm actually see, and now I first saw her when she was in WCPW, What Culture Pro Wrestling, where she was Nixon Newell. That was the first time that I saw her, and I was like, this girl's good. This girl's good. And then she ends up getting signed to do the first Mae Young Classic, and didn't even get a chance to compete before she tears her ACL. It's like, oh, rough. It's like, okay. Comes back for the second Mae Young Classic, and then faces Rhea Ripley, and she gets another knee injury. And it's just, and it's like, she's like 2 years in a row, she deals with a huge injury. She then comes up to NXT, forms a tag team with Dakota Kai, and is, well received and seems to be doing well, and then gets put into the women's match at War Games as part of Rhea Ripley's team, and ended up being part of a brilliant angle at TakeOver War Games, where Dakota Kai turns heel and attacks Tegan, which led into in my opinion, a really good feud, a really fun feud between the two of them. Keeps going, keeps doing stuff in NXT, and then she gets herself injured again, and she's out again. Another torn ACL. Comes back. Yes, I'm just I'm looking down to make sure I've got the timeline of this right, because a lot is going on. Also, I work third shift, so I've been working all night. So normally I'm actually laying in bed asleep at this time. She comes back at the Great American Bash this year, which was in July, and attacks Candice LeRae. And it's like, okay, all right, this is going to be good. Because Tegan and Candace, they were friends. There's actually videos on WWE's YouTube where Candace, who before she was a wrestler was actually a professional chef at Disney, and Candace is showing Tegan how to make different things. One of my favorite ones they did is making a buffalo mac and cheese, and it's like, okay, this could be a good feud. And instead, she gets called up to main roster and forms a tag team with Shotzi Blackheart. And Tegan loses her first name. It's just, she's just going by Knox. And forms a tag team with Shotzi and beats the women's tag champions not once, not twice, but 3 times. 3 times they beat the tag champions. Never get a title shot. Never get a title shot. And then the draft happens, and Shotzi and Tegan split. Just another tag team during that draft that was split for no reason. No reason whatsoever. And she got drafted to Raw. Never appeared on Raw. Cut. She is somebody who is going to do fine. She is somebody, that either Impact or AEW should be like, hey, you want to come here? Especially because she's going to have visa issues. Because, again, if she's on a 30-day non-compete or a 90-day, because, who knows how many of these recent call-ups got their contracts changed over to a main roster deal before getting cut. So whether she's got a 30-day or a 90-day, she's going to have to get her visa situation settled. So, AEW could use her. Impact could also use her. I think either one of those places could potentially be a good fit for Tegan Knox, for Nixon Newell. And she's only 27. So she still has got a long career ahead of her. And her story doesn't end here. Same's true for Drake Maverick. Now, in case you've forgotten, this is the second time Drake Maverick has gotten cut from WWE in the last 18 months, because he was part of the original cuts back in April of 2020 when there was the very first round of cuts, which included Rusev, included Zack Ryder, included Deonna Purrazzo, they're all doing well now. Deonna, just recently ended a nice, long, healthy reign as Impact Knockouts champion. I think she's still the AAA women's champion. Zack Ryder has reinvented himself as Matt Cardona, who in GCW is just insanely over as a heel there. Rusev is now Miro, Miro the Redeemer, one of Maggie's favorites from her home country. But Drake managed to actually get himself rehired because he had already been announced to be part of the cruiserweight tournament to crown an interim cruiserweight champion. And he posted on Twitter of one of the saddest videos that I think anybody who has gotten released has put up, where he was sitting there, he was crying about how it had been his dream to be a WWE superstar, and how he was still going to go ahead and compete in the tournament despite everything. And they ended up turning that into a storyline. He, fans got behind him. He made it all the way to the finals of the tournament and didn't win, but then was offered a new contract, new NXT contract by Triple H, which all of us who had been along on this journey were happy for him. He forms a tag team with Killian Dane, which seemed to be sort of an oddball tag team, but Drake Maverick once again showed he could turn anything that he was given and make it work so incredibly well. And it was entertaining. They had that fun theme song with the whistling. And then Drake lost his tag team partner because Killian Dane got cut a few months ago. He showed up sporadic. Drake then showed up sporadically on NXT, popped back up on the main roster as part of the 24/7 stuff, which he had been doing before he had first gotten cut, and now got released again. If you haven't, go to his Twitter because he posted another video. Starts the same way as his video from last year, but ends very differently. And it was such a good video. Even John Cena quote tweeted it and said how inspiring it was. But the basic thing is that he kind of reminded himself he never dreamed of being a WWE superstar. He dreamed of being a professional wrestler. And you can't get fired from being a professional wrestler. Somebody somewhere will book you. And I got no doubt he's going to get signed again. I think he could show up right back in Impact and fit right in there and be a great fit. I have no doubt he's going to be fine. Shane Thorne. Boy, what a journey that guy has been on, huh? He was hired. When was he signed? Because I swear he got signed. He was signed a while ago. So he did a tryout in June of 2015. And then he signed. And then in March 2016, WWE confirmed that he had been signed. And he was part of TM61. I completely forgot that was a tag team. That's how long it's been with. He was having matches with AOP and Sanity and DIY. And then his tag team partner gets released. Then he's doing doing different stuff on NXT, not really doing a whole lot. Then pops back up in 2020 as part of Retribution and is given the ridiculous name of Slapjack. And I mean, what is there really more to say about Retribution? No plans for that group whatsoever. No long-term plans, which we all knew. We all knew what happened. It was reactionary to Vince getting hammered by shareholders in a I believe it was a Q2 earnings call. Just gets absolutely hammered. And here are these guys, and what are they doing? They're cutting down the ring ropes. They're throwing cinder blocks at cars. Yes, I'm off. Slapjack, the real Bubba. And, and then in seemingly like not really doing any, kind of drifting. And then they get Mustafa Ali to be the head of their group. And people are like, oh my goodness, this is a cool thing. This is exciting. This might lead to something. And nothing. And they just kind of keep doing the same thing. drifting, not really doing anything, and then uh, they just disband sort of randomly. Like they kick out Mustafa Ali, but you know, not really. But like that's kind of it. Um, kept teaming with actually no, he didn't actually. He actually no. I thought he teamed with T-Bar, but it's actually Mace that teamed with him. He really wasn't used once Retribution kind of split. He took part in the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal on that WrestleMania SmackDown episode. And then while he was part of Raw, gets quietly moved to SmackDown in April, but never used. Wrestled a dark match on SmackDown under the Shane Thorne name. Does 2 more dark matches. Doesn't even get. I don't even think he got drafted. I'm not even showing he got drafted in the last draft, and is cut. Hey, what's up?
Well, I figured I'd chime in real quick. I'm at work, so I figured I'd say, hey, everybody, these releases suck. At the end of the day, what matters most is that these people have their own jobs. That's all that matters. For me, the one thing that's more shocking is Tegan being let go.
Yeah.
Just because of how great she was and stuff like that. Also, last night sucked. So other than the releases just crying almost on camera. So I just want to say thanks, guys. But I figured I'd stop in. Nobody should have the right to lose their jobs. Nobody has the right to complain about these releases or anything like that. You know, these are human beings, their whole life. But yeah. I gotta get back to work. So
all right.
Much love, guys. Thank you for everything. You know, the whole thing. Also, if you want to put that on there, Anakin, for the ticker about the whole cancer on the banner on the bottom, if you can, that'd be great. But do you think donate? I know it's early in the morning in a lot of places.
Oh, I see it here. There we go.
She would have been 70. So if you guys could do something great, not even in my name, just in someone's life, just do that. But I gotta go back to work. But just keep killing it, guys, and have a good day.
All right. See you later, man.